focus. In 1974, when Simone Weil stood before the French Parliament and pleaded for the decriminalization of abortion, the debate that followed was incredibly heated. But since then, and the 1975 law that has her name, access to abortion has become, for a majority of French people, akin to a fundamental right. However, it remains vulnerable to shifting political tides. And so there's been a push to add it to the French Constitution.
Staying on the offensive at this Paris demonstration, these activists are calling for the right to abortion to be set in stone.
As long as it's not in the Constitution, there's reason to be concerned because rights can always regress.
Should the right to abortion be written into the Constitution? A debate which has recently been reignited. In 2018, the presidential majority had opposed a similar proposal tabled by France Unbowed and centre-right UDI groups, considering that women's rights in terms of contraception and abortion were sufficiently assured. Emmanuel Macron's Renaissance Party is now backing the idea, a recent backtracking welcomed by the left.
Delighted to see the Macronie finally decide to constitutionalize the right to abortion after refusing it in 2018 and 2019.
According to a recent poll, 81% of French people are in favour of the move. And the inclusion of abortion in the constitution could win the support of a broad political spectrum, even if many on the right and the far right are opposed to it. A far right which now makes up 89 seats in the National Assembly.
Aucune femme ne recourt de gaieté de cœur à l'avortement.
Since 1975, the legalisation of abortion has been subject to numerous attacks. Its very principle and every amendment has been regularly challenged by activists whose discourse doesn't change.
We hear about the abolition of the death penalty, but we're the first to kill children.
To give a voice to those who have been prevented from being born.
The inclusion of abortion in the Constitution would inevitably provoke new demonstrations of anger from this section of the population, a minority that has already shown in the past, notably during the adoption of the same-sex marriage bill, its capacity to mobilise.
Doctors are often among the first people that women turn to when faced with an unwanted pregnancy. But as we're about to see, some French women say that the medical community needs better training and guidelines to help them through what is a difficult time.
Leah was 24 when she fell pregnant. She'd been taking birth control consistently, but after doing a pregnancy test, she still got the results she feared most. Leah then booked an appointment with her gynecologist. She told the doctor she was considering an abortion, but Leah says she didn't feel listened to. She left with an ultrasound scan and a second appointment scheduled for a month and a half later.
My doctor suggested that I have another examination to check if the pregnancy was still viable. She put the screen in front of me without telling me anything and made me listen to the heartbeat. Then she said, "Oh, well, yes, you can't make it go away." Of course, I didn't go into the appointment saying I wanted an abortion, but I was clearly saying I don't know what I want to do and I needed to be listened to. So instead of having an abortion with a pill, I had to stay at the hospital for the day and undergo an aspiration. I was 9 weeks along, whereas the first time I went to see her, I was 10 days pregnant, so it took a long time. They put additional burdens on me, emotional and physical. Physical in particular, because I had this pregnancy for longer than I would have liked.
These obstacles to getting an abortion, imposed by some doctors, are something that Dr. Maha Maha sees regularly in her profession.
We receive women who first met people who are not explicitly opposed to abortion, but who clearly did not make the path to having an abortion easy. They made them waste time, made them go through ultrasound scans, told them having a baby is always good news. Whereas the reality of these pregnancies is that they are not expected. It happens frequently. We know it, and the doctors obviously know that.
In France, 1 in 3 pregnancies end in voluntary termination. However, 2,000 to 3,000 women a year go abroad because they've exceeded the legal deadline, a period that has been extended from 12 to 14 weeks after a change in the law last March. Cécile Miscotti wrote a parliamentary report on the difficulties of abortion access that led to the amendment.
There are several issues. We lack gynecologists, so there's always an extremely high demand. Because of this, they have to choose between monitoring a pregnancy and looking after a patient with a serious illness, and abortion is not a priority. The procedure itself is also not well paid, so we did something about that. Moreover, the abortion part in a gynecologist's training is practically non-existent, and it's sometimes an act that they know very little about, or one that perhaps bothers them.
In a bid to get rid of these obstacles to abortion, doctors who perform the procedure are campaigning for dedicated centres to be created, but a move like this would go against the current trend. According to Planned Parenthood, 130 medical centres have closed in the last 15 years.
The French think tank, the Jean Jaurès Foundation, has been researching abortion rights in France.